So, Peter, big news this week. Your return in September against Benson Henderson in Dublin. How excited are you to get a fight to look forward to?
I'm super excited, and especially this fight. Benson is someone I wanted to fight with a while, and it could have been, it probably could have been one we could have done, except for me and Patricky's business kind of drug on a long time as well. So I'm really happy. I can't wait now. I'm just delighted to be fighting number one, and fighting Benson is great as well.
Yeah, we can chat about Benson in a second. Just in terms of the injury, I haven't seen you speak too much since you had to pull out of Dublin in February. How's the recovery going, and what actually happened? Was it in the gym, or was it how did it all take place with the rib?
Yeah, it's a lot better. I'm not doing much at the moment because I've just had surgery on my shoulder 2 weeks ago, so it's hard to even know what it feels like because I'm not really doing anything, but it's definitely getting better. Yeah, the rib actually just happened in sparring, but it was a weird how it happened. It was a very light sparring I was doing, like very light, and it was just a real awkward kind of a grappling exchange what actually happened. And it's hard to explain, but I kind of basically landed very awkwardly and kind of awkwardly on my partner's arm, if that makes sense. And I just I got a very sharp pain right away. Then went to the hospital, and sure enough, then my rib was fractured. So that was it.
And you mentioned when we were just off air there, you had surgery on your shoulder and foot. So you've taken this time, this bit of a break to kind of get yourself fully healed in all parts of your body that you're probably overdue.
Yeah, there was two things. Like I had a kind of a foot injury and my shoulder that have been bothering me for a long time. But you never get a chance to do these things, your schedule is kind of busy. But I knew after this one that my ribs wouldn't be ready anyway, to say July anyway. And I knew that Bellator would just go, well, look, there's no point in risking July, just wait until September. So I knew I'd have 5 or 6 months of downtime now. So I said I was going to get these two surgeries done and give myself a good kind of a clean bill of health for once. I'm really looking forward to actually being healthy and being in a training camp where I can push it to the limit, like I like doing, and not kind of training around things, and which is what I've been doing the last year, to be honest. So I'm really excited now to get healthy and get back.
Yeah, because like you in particular, like I've spoken to you before and I've seen you do loads of other interviews, your condition is so good. So I presume you do push it to the limit in training. So imagine if you're not at 100%, like you probably feel it more than most because like your condition is such a strong part of your armory.
Yeah, now you find ways around that, and you find ways to kind of push it to the limit in other ways as well. So I feel like my fitness was pretty good for the last two fights. Yeah. It's not an excuse or anything, but it's more in terms of like when you're sparring and stuff, you're compensating, you're staying out of positions perhaps because you're worried about aggravating these things even more. And this is the problem really when you have an injury like this. You're not really expressing yourself the way you want to be in training.
Yeah, and like the Dublin show in February, obviously you missed out. It's your first one in a while to miss out. Usually you're like either a main card or a co-main event. You were there cage side. I've seen you. Everyone's seen you. How did you enjoy the night as a spectator? Like it was another incredible night there.
Yeah, I enjoyed it. I really enjoyed it, and it's like when I was going to the arena, my girl Joy, I was in a bad mood, kind of going almost like I was like, oh fuck's sake, like, do you know what I mean? Because you were supposed to be fighting, and I was disappointed. But then once I sat down, I started watching the fights, and I started meeting all the fans, and you cheer up very quickly. And I thought it was a brilliant night. My teammates did brilliantly, I thought. Thought some of them were unlucky. Brian, I thought, was unlucky in his decision. He could have I don't think it was a robbery, but it was. He could have easily been given the decision as well, and you couldn't have argued with that either. So I felt bad for him. And then I thought Sinead and Leia really rose to the occasion and gave the event a big kind of a crescendo that perhaps me and James normally do. And they really stood up and got that done for the event. And it was brilliant. It was a very exciting fight.
Yeah, like it's bizarre to think that like with a world title fight on the line, it still wasn't the biggest fight tonight. Those two girls like that, and as you said, it lived up because even just before it started, I was sitting in the press area. I think everyone was a bit nervous that it might have disappointed, but like Jesus, the two of them just gave it, and like it completely did not disappoint.
Yeah, it was in one sense, it was like it was a kind of a scrappy fight. It wasn't, do you know what I mean? It was But it was the drama of it. It was because Sinead's knee was injured, and it was very obvious her knee was injured, and it was just very dramatic. And it was a lot of ebbs and flows and changes of momentum, and it was just brilliant. It was. I was crapping myself, to be honest. I like both girls, but obviously I'm Sinead's friend, and or a better friend of Sinead, should I say. I'm Leia's friend as well, but it was just terribly exciting. I was just, it was brilliant. It was.
Speaking of your teammates, I just did want to get your thought before you move on to your next fight about Peter Queally, because it was his pro debut, similar way to you, lightweight. He was kind of frustrated in the last Dublin show. His fight was called off quite late. Jeez, he was impressive, wasn't he?
Very impressive. I wasn't surprised. He's always impressive in the training room. I wasn't shocked at all. He has bags of potential. He's got the right mindset. It looks like too, that he's not getting distracted by other things and whatever else. So I think he can go very far.
Yeah. And then moving on to your next fight in September, as you said, Benson Henderson. What a name! He has a reputation, but then I was looking through his record there, you kind of forget the amount of people he's fought. It's just like a who's who MMA Hall of Fame. It must be very exciting. And what a fight to come back to.
It's brilliant. It's like it's crazy. It was like I was talking to one of my friends, one of my kind of childhood friends yesterday about this, and he was like, Jesus, like we used to be sitting in his living room watching Benson 12 or 15 years ago.
Yeah.
Barely started training. You know what I mean? Like, and at the time, if you said, he was saying at the time, if I'd said to him, I'm going to be in the ring with him someday, he would have laughed at me. You know what I mean? So it's brilliant. I'm delighted. It's very good. And the fans seem to be delighted as well. There's a big pop, I feel, for this fight. More so than my last few previous fights, really. This one seems to be one that people really want to see and are very excited about. So I can't wait.
When you that last Dublin show, there were so many young Irish fighters. You'd almost be considered now a veteran among the SPG game, because yourself and Brian have been around so long. Then you look at someone like Benson Henderson. I think he's got 6 or 7 years on you in terms of age. Do you look at someone like him and say, you're nowhere near finishing this game?
Yeah, I'm like, I know when I'll be finished. When I'm in the training room and all those young guys are kicking my ass, that's when you're finished. But this seems like it's a very far time away right now. So when it's nothing to do with age. Athletics, really, it's like there's two things. There's injuries can make you look old very quickly, and also it's motivation as well. When you lose the motivation to do this, then you get old really quickly. That's why footballers are kind of old when they're 30, because they're fucking so rich at this stage already. Why do they care anymore? You know what I mean? This is what it is. So it's, I think it's those two things rather than this number. This will never, tell me when I have to retire or show me how I feel or anything like this. You judge it with empirical evidence on how you're training and how you're fighting, and I'm training and fighting very well.
And just a couple of things before that you go, with this break that you have till September, for someone who likes to keep quite busy, it is a bit of an extended break. Will we see any sort of different Peter Queally when you come back? Will you try and change anything compared to, because obviously you had that bit of spell with Patricky, but now you've got a break from that. Will we see anything different when you return, do you think?
Yeah, I think you will, because I was training I trained very hard for Patricky, and it's not an excuse at all that he beat me, and I'll tell you why it's not an excuse, because he just got me, and that was it. It's like, there's no excuse there. It never got to the stage where it became this war of attrition where my training was becoming a factor, if you get me. But what you will see different from me is I'm going to be able to train now and have these injuries done, train properly. I've been training in a very stale kind of a way, just doing a lot of cardio and minding myself, afraid I was going to push this over the line and maybe not be able to fight. So I was training in a kind of a reserved manner and like a fearful manner almost, that I didn't want to, hurt myself further. So once this is done, I can't wait. I'm going to be training like I was, a few years ago, just pedal to the metal, sparring a lot. I wasn't sparring much the last year for the same reason, just very sporadically and very carefully. Whereas one of the biggest parts of my training has always been my sparring over the years, just sparring everyone, sparring anyone, just spar. This is how you get good. So, I think you will. I don't know what it's going to be, but I think I am going to be different because I'm going to be training different.
Yeah. And finally, just something that when I spoke to Sinead yesterday, she was very keen to give credit to John over for that win over Leah, particularly because she had to go to the ground. I was saying to like Sinead, no one was expecting Sinead Kavanagh throwing a Kimura lock against Leah McCourt, but she was like, she wasn't really giving herself too much credit, but she was saying it's all down to John, the work he's put in for years. And just when you look at those Dublin shows and they're becoming so regular, the amount of work he does those nights back and forth, and obviously in the lead up to them, but just awarding him for someone who's worked for him for so long.
Yeah, he's like, he said to me before, after those Dublin shows, he's just, you don't even see him. You never see him in the bar, or he doesn't come and celebrate with us really or anything, because he's just so exhausted. He's just, and stressed, I think, as well. Yeah. Probably. It's stressful. Even like, if I'm cornering one of my teammates or anything, the stress, my God, it's so much worse than when you're fighting yourself. Yeah. Fighting yourself is stressful, but it's even worse when you're cornering someone, because you can't do anything to help them, really.
Yeah, and that's one fight. Sometimes John will have like 9.
Yeah, he'll have 10 of them or whatever. Like, so I can only imagine how he feels. So, but you know, we all owe John a lot. I owe him a lot. And Sinead obviously said that she owes him a lot and whatever, but I certainly owe him a lot. And you know, he's a great coach, a great mentor, a great friend. He's just my friend now as well. After all the years I've been with him, I've known John nearly 12 or 15 years now. And we're close inside and outside of the ring. And, you know, I wouldn't be where I am without John. He gets a bit of flack sometimes in the media, Joe, as any popular person does. People have grievances with him. But my experience with him is, you know, I would just not be where I am without John. That's as good as I can say about him, you know what I mean?
Yeah, that's great. Peter, that's all I need. I'll let you go. Best of luck with the recovery, and I'm sure I'll speak to you closer to September.
Okay, thank you.